I do believe we left off discussing gestural envelopes in the last video. Ended abruptly. So here's the continued part. For this fun little sailboat image, one thing that I find helpful, like I've been discussing, is to not only think of the bounding box to get an overall fairly accurate idea of the height to width ratio, but to also sketch in what I'm calling the gestural envelope to get more of a feel of how things curve, how things might be shifting one way or another, just more of an overall organic response to help make our drawings not so stiff and technical. I'm going to discuss how I would do both individual shapes as well as the overall shape. Well, the overall gestural, I would sort of think of like that, I would say. And you could certainly start any drawing you want from that point. You could start drawing this by sketching in something like that. And then going to town. That can be a very fun way. If you, the more you get familiar with this stuff, the more that can be kind of a nice, quick, fun way, and the better you get at it, the more accurate it will be without going down the road of the bounding box and all that stuff. But those the idea of the diagonals are still going to come in extremely helpful, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to isolate this thing to three main shapes that create an overall shape. The first one I'm going to look at is this hull, or the, I hope that's what it's called. I know you probably can't see all this, getting so many sketchy lines in here. You might not be able to see what I'm indicating. But I'm kind of trying to create a gestural envelope for just the hull. Just the main part of the boat. And one of the reasons I'm wanting to do that is to get an idea for the overall dimensions, the overall where it's curvy and where it's not curvy. And what I can also do, if I get to the four-sided aspect, is create these diagonals. I will say that the more skinny a shape is, the trickier the using angled sighting and measuring techniques can be. It works better if it's if things are more of an isosceles, but just sort of know that. So, but if I do think about creating this four-sided object at just some size, I would start by making something that was really way too angled. But I'm going to start off with three sides of the of this simplified sort of gestural envelope. And mostly what I'm concerned about really is getting the angles of the gestural bounding box accurate. Here I'm going to sort of think of this as kind of coming down like that. that needs to flatten out a little bit more. That angles back even a little bit more. This, if I imagine, is something like that, goes to at that angle. So like I've been saying, hopefully in a couple of different things, I get these first three are freebies. That's kind of a silly way to think of it, but as long as these angles are correct, then I have the chance of creating that drawing this shape in a relatively accurate fashion. What I need to know is basically how far is this line, you know, the fourth line, and hopefully you see that that is not accurate. And thankfully I've created these diagonals to help me figure out this fourth line. I'm eyeballing and not, I could sort of, I can certainly check and use my pencil and check more like we've been talking about. But I'm gonna try that diagonal right there to tell me where this final line starts at that point. And I'm going to use this diagonal to tell me where it stops. Technically, if I get that angle correct, it would stop in the right place. I'm using, but doing this will help me check that as well. So, is it perfect? No. Does it get me off to a good sporting chance start? Yes. Could I correct it and spend a bunch of time trying to make it perfect? Yeah. Am I going to do that right now? No. Can you ever really make something perfect? But the point is by starting with a gestural envelope for a shape, a three-sided gestural envelope will help in that all we really need to know is the angles, the basic angles, to get a pretty close idea of what a perimeter gestural triangle would be. This sail, I would hope that you see, is really just another tall triangle. It happens to be sort of a right triangle. I'm not going to worry about exact proportions with the rest of it because that's not where I am right now. Just kind of practicing these. So if this one is a right triangle, where this is straight up and down, and this is straight across, I'm just trying to copy that angle. When you start drawing curved lines, yes, it is technically harder to measure. Doing a straight angled line is something you is easier to measure. But it's also fun to start just getting some darn curves in, because that's fun to draw as well. This last sail, I'm going to think of in kind of a couple different ways. As I've been sort of sketching it and having fun with it, I feel like there's sort of point there, a point there, a point there that I'm going to think about. And I am going to break this curve down to 2 gestural lines. Once again, this first one I'm going to make straight. That's sort of what a rubber band would do. It wouldn't curve in with a shape like that. So it doesn't follow the parts that go concave. I don't, but that go in towards the middle of the main shape. But then I might do something like that and something like that. And now I have, once again, if I create some angles somewhat accurately for this shape, I can do 3 of them. It's not very accurate at all, Farron. Without sort of taking too much time to measure, and as long as I'm pretty close at emulating these. That one here, this one here, and this one here. Then when I'm trying to figure out this 4th side is when I come back and use the power of the triangle. Okay, that was a little weird, but by emulating this angle right here, that will help me determine where this one is starting. And then I'll sort of check my math, see if that diagonal is most kind of that diagonal. So once again, I'm drawing, way darker than I normally would. But at that point, I would be able to come back and start refining this sail shape. I didn't mean to make that one straight. I wanted to refine that a little bit, and I do have a bit of a mess here. Let's clean things up a bit. Normally I'd be using my kneaded eraser right now, but I'm not sure where that is. Just right now. Anyways, I would start coming back in and creating that curved line. And then that curved line. And then this big curved line, sort of thinking of it as having kind of a big turn, a bigger turn right at that point. The apex of this, you could say, is sort of right there. Whew! I try to have a kneaded eraser every time I turn around. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Hey, look. So if this video poops out again, that's all I'm basically going to be doing. But I'm going to clean this up just in case you're still watching. And all of my marks that I would have made for that would have been much lighter in nature, so that when I do come back with a final mark, it would be just a much cleaner line. And that's how I would do that. Check that out.